welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Thank you for sticking with us through that one. Plenty of time to go out for a walk, get some fresh air, and then sit back in front of your computer screens as we kick off the third round robin of the Overwatch Pacific Championship. This is, of course, the official English broadcast of said tournament. Let's meet our teams.
First up, we're going to have
AHQ going to be kicking it off for tonight.
Yeah, AHQ starting things off. This is a team that we've been excited to see come up against Blank, the first team of the competition to have actually taken Blank down. This could be a repeat performance for one of these teams because they both have a record of 1-1 against each other.
This is, as it were, the grand rematch, and also these two teams are currently tied for first in the standings. So this very first game is going to determine, first of all, who is first at the start of this round robin, and then it's also going to determine who has the most to prove when these guys meet in the last round robin. So, of course, here now is Blank, the only Australian team in this tournament, picking up an undefeated streak through the first round robin, with AHQ picking up their own undefeated streak in the second round robin, and Blank taking their first tournament losses in, I think, 3 or 4 tournaments. So, nothing to be balked at, and a lot on the line now as they seek to redeem themselves.
And the latest Blank performance as well is kind of hard to judge because it's been against both of the Japanese teams of the most 2 recent games that we've seen them play. And while they were 3-0s, those are expected 3-0s, we kind of have to extrapolate pretty far from those matchups that were pretty one-sided.
All right, we're actually going to get to the interview really quick between two captains.
其实我们算是比较侥幸成分，就运气比较好，所以我们赢得了胜利。那我们也知道，因为一个队伍当一旦遇到问题挫败的时候，它一定会有一个爆发性的转变，所以今天我们已经准备好接招了。
非常的谦虚 ，Niter。那 Blank Esports 这边呢 ，Seven。
对于我们上个礼拜的首败，我们也很失望。但是我们今天就是感谢那个赛程，就是提供我们今天就是隔一周就可以有报仇的机会。
Both teams, Coach Nitor and Coach Serenity, are saying it is time for vengeance. It is time to settle the score officially. They both want to be able to bring it to the other team and show which one is officially the better of the two. And if you can imagine, this is the decider of a best of 3 between the two teams.
So far it kind of is. And also, like you and I were talking about this before as well, right? Whoever loses, no matter how well they do throughout the rest of the round robin, they cannot prove that they are the best until the next round robin where these two teams meet for the last time before playoffs. And the thing is, right, let's say in a theoretical universe, you know, one of these two teams loses, then they have a great record through the rest of the round robin. The other team has some wins, some losses. So at the end, the team that lost in this match is topping the standings. You don't want to be the team that comes into playoffs with this one kryptonite team. Because at that point, it doesn't matter who you've beaten and who you've lost against if one of the other teams in the playoffs is a team you just can't ever beat. That's a scary thing.
And the other scary thing as well is between these top 3 teams, even Flash Wolves, who aren't technically in a 3-way tie, they are sitting at second place, third place, whatever. They're only 1 win behind these other 2 teams, and they could very easily be up there, but they suffered a crippling loss to Machi, which means that they're now currently 1 point behind, and that could actually matter as soon as we get towards playoffs, where only the top 3 teams are going to qualify, and of course you want to be at that number 1 spot to get the best possible position.
Yeah, so with that in mind, let's go ahead and take a look at the standings at the top of this third round robin. That is officially it. We have passed the halfway point of the rounds, and you can see it right there, HQ and Blank in a dead tie for first, with both of them, like I said, now having an undefeated round robin in their back pocket, but Blank with the more shaky recent round robin. That's really what they carry into this, and you can of course see throughout the rest of the standings. They are still sitting pretty in that top 3 with Flash Wolves, closely followed by the now tied for 4th Hong Kong Attitude and Machi Esports, with the remaining teams, Viable, Detonator Gold, and Sun Sister, still desperately trying to push up into that sort of territory where they could maybe, just maybe, start contesting that top 3. We've been talking a little bit actually about Machi and Hong Kong Attitude, and while we've got a bit of a moment, let's sort of address this. Like I said, top of the third round robin now. Hong Kong Attitude formerly were the gatekeepers of 4th place, but Machi, after some phenomenal performances where they took out teams like Flash Wolves, while we're doing this as well, we'll be able to take a quick look at the lineups of these 2 teams. They were able to start pushing up to that 4th place. Let's just run through AHQ Esports Club. If this is your first time ever watching, they of course consist of, well, a few players. We'll see them later. Here's Blank now, ATAR, Trill, RQT, Gunba, IEDU and Kiki.
And for those that missed out on the AHQ lineup, you actually had Calman there, as well as Kerry's, Crappy, I'm going to get through all of them, believe it
Dizzy?
or not.
Dizzy's
Dizzy,
probably there.
and there's a couple
a few more.
There's
There's at least one more member.
there's a minimum of there's actually
There's a minimum
7
of 6
members.
guys.
There's
They do
actually
have
7
subs
members.
as well. Yeah, so this, of course, on your screen says blank, and one of the things we really praise these guys for is not just their flexibility, but specifically where it comes from and how many of their players can move to a healer or a tank or a DPS situation dependent. And you can see that right there with I Eat You Up, right? The fact that like he plays predominantly Tracer, and he's a
And a little bit of fan service.
he is a great Tracer player as it is. You almost never want to take him off, but you could put him on Zarya, and that's actually a huge thing for them.
Also important to note as well, Blank played literally the previous series here, which means AHQ got to watch all 3 of those matches and just see how Blank are most recently performing. And to make it a bit interesting, Blank have been playing a little bit differently, at least on the second 2 of the 3 maps there, the Temple of Anubis and then King's Row. They ran Eat You Up on Widowmaker 100% of the time. I believe he only swapped off on the second point defense of Anubis, and that's not normal for Blank. That's not something that they usually do, and he still managed to get the MVP.
So here comes AHQ. They're a little bit less flexible. I think this is a team that was similar to Flash Wolves, I feel, built around a time when triple tank was the dominant meta. So you have your key sort of grounded anchor DPS player, which is Dizzy right here, with essentially Soldier as his main pick, and then the rest of the team is kind of built around that. You had Cowman earlier, who's a flex DPS. He plays kind of like Eat Up in the sense he has a couple of the DPS picks in there, also has some of the tanks and the Lazy Titan as well, predominantly only a tank player, and then the supports and your main tank to sort of round it out.
Yeah, and the interesting thing here as well, and I noticed this actually just in the last series on Temple of Anubis, most teams, and you saw it there a moment ago with carriers, when they do pull out Sombra, it's generally one of the healers that goes onto it. That's actually not true of Blank. Oftentimes they'll keep 2 healers, keeping RQT on Lucio, especially, and Gunva on whatever else they're running there, and put Atar on the Sombra, which is different to say the least.
It is a little bit different. I don't think it's impossible for Gumba to be playing the Sombra either, which is, if they were going to use the support, it would actually be Gumba. But you are right, technically, they have so far been using Atar. At the same time, I think Blank in general has been the team within the upper echelon of teams in the on the leaderboard to have run Sombra the least.
It usually only shows up in the second point of Anubis. There's maybe, we saw it once
Used to be on Oasis as well.
Oasis,
Sometimes,
but
yeah.
I mean, apart from the fact we haven't seen a ton of Oasis since then, Blank aren't really usually running that anymore. So second point of Anubis, sure, but apart from that, yeah, they're running Sombra pretty much the least out of all the teams here. So yeah, don't expect to see that too much unless AHQ pick up Anubis, because it's their pick on Assault, and after Blank's performance against not just Detonator in the very previous series, but also Marchi that they lost to on Anubis. I'm expecting a Temple of Anubis, folks.
I mean, there was actually a bit of a run there. I mean, since you brought it up, it's worth speaking to this. Within that first round robin, actually, where they were dropping Assault. They were dropping Assault constantly, and we also talk about their sort of infamous 5-game series, quote unquote, against Hong Kong Attitude, where like you can argue that is the epitome of them dropping Assault, and then also dropping other maps on that as well. Like let's also remember that the rest of that series, like it wasn't just that they lost Assault and then suddenly looked bad, right? So I feel like a lot of teams right now are identifying that as a potential weak point of Blank's, and you're right, that recent performance on Temple of Anubis, as much as it wasn't a bad performance, they did still win, and when they won it was in convincing fashion. There seems to be holes. There still seems to be exploitable things for these other teams who are looking to get one up on Blank. If you're coming into this series in particular, where it is this kind of grand rematch with a lot on the line, if there is just one map you are going to lose, that is a terrifying situation to be in right off the bat. And also, AHQ are going to be picking first map as well. So I kind of want to draw attention to that. Is there any world in which this doesn't just go to Lijiang?
Yes, because AHQ picked Nepal, and that's what they beat Blank on last time.
There we go.
What a world.
That is the answer.
Nepal pick. Let's go into that a bit then. So what is it that AHQ are actually doing on Nepal?
I think...
aside from winning.
Yeah, I mean, it's been their most... AHQ, I think, based on based on history, have picked Nepal more than Lijiang, and are probably the only team to have consistently done that. Now, Flash Wolves are also moving into that sort of territory as well. I don't know, in terms of reasoning, there's... to be honest, in terms of map design, there's not a super big difference in terms of how you're going to play these maps. There are two very open sort of maps and then one very closed map, same as Lijiang really. But in terms of Nepal, I think for AHQ it could be a practice thing. They are probably more practice on this particular map. They're at the sort of point where they can basically match Blank as we've seen previously on certain picks as well, particularly the Tracer pick.
You're a filthy liar, AVRL. You're a filthy liar. It's Lijiang Tower.
Maybe we just live in that different world where Lijiang Tower is.
I live in the world where they don't not pick Lijiang.
There we go. But Lijiang Tower, but a lot of what you said is fairly similar, right?
So nothing. Everything I said.
Let's be frank. You're not wrong actually about what AHQ are doing on Nepal. You're completely right. It has been Lijiang though. So
the question is like, what is the other map pick? It is Nepal. So that's just the fact.
Yeah. So let's sort of go into this now because it is Lijiang. When there are a lot of compelling reasons for it to be Nepal. So where do we think this pick is coming from?
I think AHQ are still a team that's just very comfortable on Lijiang Tower. Blank don't necessarily pick it as their control map, so that could show a sign of maybe they're just trying to practice on some of these other maps, which means less time practice on AHQ, on Lijiang Tower. So that could potentially be a reason. Another reason is that Gardens is a map that most of the time does demand a Pharah coming out from one of the sides. Now, a lot of teams can still get around that, but I do predict Blank are pretty happy to run the Pharah on that map, and that's something that I think AHQ are just going to dive all over, right? They're either going to bring out a Pharah of their own and just command the skies against them, or just run full dive and win the fight on the ground. I think that in a matchup like that, AHQ will just beat Blank if Blank are going to run Pharah.
You know, this is to me kind of like mind games. It's AHQ know obviously. They're thinking Blank are expecting a Nepal. By them pulling out a Lijiang, it might have sort of pulled a little bit of a surprise factor on Blank. Not that it's going to be a huge factor in the sense that Blank practice a lot of Lijiang anyway. In fact, Lijiang is their standard pick on control, so it doesn't really make a huge difference to Blank at the end of the day. In terms of talking about like, oh, the map picks, I think it's just a bit of a general thing. Like, it doesn't matter what maps are going to get picked. There is no like, oh, I mean, this team really wants to play this. Either team right in this competition for both of these guys in the matchup, it doesn't matter. We could be playing Ilios and it wouldn't matter. We could be playing Oasis. These guys wouldn't care. It's the same.
Could there be an argument then that this is a bit of a form of, if you will, playoffs prep? Because if these two teams do meet in playoffs, there's no guarantee that AHQ are going to be in a situation where they can determine that it is going to be Nepal, right? You want to be able to go toe-to-toe. Like, it's one thing to be able to beat Blank on Nepal. You want to be able to beat them on literally any other control map as well. You don't want to just be able to beat them on your one that is your best control map. So could there be an argument maybe that this is related to that?
I'd say trying to be able to beat Blank, and to that point, any other team on a lot of different control maps so that you don't get in that position where suddenly they bring out something a little bit surprising during playoffs. That's something that is usually going to come out of scrims, but in a live tournament environment, yeah, there are some different things, so it could be stretched to say that, yeah, AHQ are looking to be able to beat Blank in a live environment on every single map so that they're not caught out where they can't pick Nepal. So to some point, yeah, that's a little bit true, but the majority of that kind of prep will come out of the tournament in scrims.
All right, well, thank you very much, Smite, and I'm sorry to say this is where we leave you, as we're going to be taking a trip to China, hitting up Lijiang Tower to kick off this best-of-5 series between AHQ and Blank Esports. These two teams currently 1-for-1 across the tournament as a whole. AHQ, the more recent of the two to pick up a win.
And it's going to be the Pharah coming out at 8, slightly predicted by Smite there. And AHQ, they're not going to be really comfortable running against that, but Dizzy's going to be well prepared, I think, on the Soldier here. So, opening skirmishes aside, AHQ already have pretty good positioning around Blank. Just going to look for the very first pick to start things off.
It's very much on Blank to assault the point. They are sitting themselves on the point right now, but they're also the ones kind of hurting to actually reinforce it adequately. And now AHQ make their move, They get themselves a good run of picks, taking Trill out of the mech, got him as out as well.
Early
and
res.
Gunba, yeah, the res actually misses Trill. IATU falls down after that, and it forces out the sound barrier. So AHQ ahead in this opening. It's hard to call it the opening skirmish now because this is more jostling around the point, but it's now been drawn out long enough by Blank that they may be able to get onto the point. ATAR, oh, not quite getting enough with that. Yeah, and that probably will be AHQ fully securing this point now to start it off. Hard fought, hard won, well deserved.
And Blank got it sort of halfway there, but AHQ now going to get it all the way on the cap. Really a slow trace to start things off. They had both teams had a lot of trouble getting the initial pick out. Dizzy went down, but immediately AHQ traded back onto Blank. They got Trill. Gumba got the res up, but like you said, he missed Trill when he got it back. Ato then got shut down with the rocket barrage. AHQ are now in control. Tac visor ready to go. Early transcendence though.
Yeah, very early indeed, and not entirely forced either, but now they're starting to hit back. Throwing a lot of ultimates at it as Carmen had the pulse bomb out there as well. All they've really got so far forward is Trill, so Blank should be happy to take that one on the chin, assuming they get a safe retreat and come back in for a counterattack where all AHQ really have is the self-destruct.
And Blank have to do a decent amount of work to get themselves in a position where they can be favored for this. They still got to play against a self-destruct. I know it's just self-destruct, but Lazy Tone's been hitting a lot of these so far. Also really great for zoning. Also restricts Blank's airspace for ATAR as well. This is now going to be the attack coming through from Blank. Early sound barrier did get used there, but so far they're dropping members.
It's been enough to take out Trill, give them the mileage they need, and now ahead in this, even as they lose Dizzy. Gunba down before the res can be used. Atar's going to throw out the rocket barrage, but same thing again, gets absorbed by the Winston shield. And honestly, that was a really late commit from that ultimate out of Blank. Very uncharacteristic, and this game is starting to slip away from them.
Yeah, this is a big problem is also the fact that I don't know if we've got really enough value out of these reses. So far, Gumba going down early. He needs to be protected just a little bit better. And AHQ is starting to get into a position where they're going to be a little bit impenetrable. We're nearing the 80% mark. Dizzy going down early. He might just give Blank a little bit of an opening, and they still have a res to play with.
Yeah, they get Eat You Up back, but you're right, that res will become a factor as soon as they pick Crappy. This should be Blank's moment to make a move. They actually go for the tempo res to bring Eat You Up back, but they lose Kiki for it. It's a little bit unideal because they haven't exactly secured more kills on AHQ. Part of that has been Erican running the ultimate, but now set up on the point. ATAR, decent position for this, looking to get the cap through. They're at the very least pressuring AHQ onto the point. That's a little unfavorable for them, but ATAR overcommitted when indoors when he needed to stick out in the skies. They're trying to keep this one alive for as long as they can, but as Blank on the back foot, no res available. Gunba is dead, even if he had it, and that is going to be AHQ picking up the first point in a shutout.
As soon as AHQ maintained control, they never lost it. There's a couple of times when Dizzy went down, it might have looked dire, but look, they got Eat Up immediately. I've said this so many times. If you can get Eat Up in these fights, Blank are in a lot of trouble. This guy's like the keystone for the team. When Eat Up is gone, Blank begins to crumble. The early res being used just to get Eat Up back. I kind of agree with that. You need Eat Up in the fight. And just as foretold, Eat Up was the last person alive as we reached the overtime. But as the only person, no tanks, no supports, no nothing, he was never going to be able to hold that out long enough.
Yeah, you just can't win that fight. And also, a few positional errors out of Blank, and dare I say it, some miscalls in terms of ultimate usage. A little bit worrying on a few fronts there, but plenty of time to fix up their mistakes. That is one thing this team is phenomenal at, is realizing what went wrong and not falling prey to the same problems.
Yeah, and it's going to be the heavy dive from Blank this time, going up against heavy shields from AHQ. This is really comfort zone for them because triple tank is exactly what AHQ specialize in. It's exactly what they execute well in.
Yeah, and we noted here, Cowman onto that Zarya. One of his many options. And one of the few times we really see him not on the Tracer. Here they go, going deep into it as Erican as they find the opening picks. Atar and Gunba out of the picture. Good trade back onto Dizzy. It is the one DPS out, actually. That's enough of a window for Blank to strike back if they so choose. And they do choose, but Erican has enough health to hold down the fort here if he wants. Cowman hasn't actually gone down. Eat You Up is kind of keeping his team in this. They can't quite get the angle on Erican, but taking out the one DPS gave them a huge, huge window. And now they've managed to turn it back to the point where they are at least the ones forcing AHQ to attack onto them. And now actually AHQ are going to cede the point as a whole. That was very tight, but very well done.
And this is the thing, you see what Eat Up has done again. He got himself about 4 kills there, the primary one on Dizzy straight away. As soon as Eat Up went, as soon as Erican went in with Cowman, guess what? You lost your main DPS. Yeah, you got the area control, you got a couple of kills, but Eat Up was wreaking havoc in the back line. So for AHQ, if they want to get this, they have to make sure their back line is still protected.
This is good positioning by Blank, given AHQ's triple tank setup. They get good, but a lot of angles for that Orb of Discord.
Go to sleep.
Still looking for an opportunity to push in here, taking it slowly. Aether going down early should give them a little bit of leverage to play with.
Kiki as well. They do get crappy out, but like I said, the one they need to rely on is taking out Dizzy. Good pulse bomb to knock Eric in. They might be able to get an opening, but no. Here we go. AHQ going to secure it out as they clean up the rest of the DPS. Maybe an unnecessary nano boost. That is now a resource they lack for this next defense, but they have enough coming up that they should be fine.
In their defense, I think they used it at the same time as roughly when the final members of Blank went down, so they weren't too sure if they were going to secure the kills or not. But if you looked at the kill feed there, Eat Up got the only kills Blank received throughout the entire engagement, 2 of them. And so the guy is still effective. They got to get Eat Up early. If they can get Eat Up early, I think AHQ should have this.
And on the flip side of that, if Blank can get Dizzy early, they seem to do all right. Cowman onto this Roadhog. Yeah, I like this. This is giving them a lot more options in terms of picking the DPS out of Blank.
And maybe a little few options in protecting Dizzy a little bit better as well.
That's the trade-off, I suppose. That is the trade-off. Yeah, you're completely right, but let's see if it pays off for them. That is a decent Earth Shatter and well followed up now as Carrier's putting the mileage in. For some reason, as Carrier's getting it, eating you up. He can't do it all by himself. And once again, they're unable to really pick Dizzy because this triple tank is keeping him so well protected.
That's a really good trade-off for AHQ as well. They use 2 ultimates, they actually used 3 ultimates with 2. So it's not as clean as a trade-off, but it was still pretty good. They still have really good control here. Just going to rely on the self-destruct. Again, getting the early kill and Eat Up is really good. Good shots out from Crappy. It will just be a delay though. It's not enough for AHQ to convert onto any further kills. It's going to get them a good maybe 7-8% extra progress, but time does run out for Blank. They are getting choked out.
That delay could be all it takes to force Blank into a position where it's do or die. And that's an early sound barrier committed for them so that they can at least get onto the point. Kiki ulting as well. They're the ones being early. Hooks Atar right as the Tac Visor comes out. That was early commits from the ultimates out of Blank. And that's why it's dangerous. That's how it can cost you. They felt that they needed to do it to be the proactive party in the fight, but AHQ were happy to just absorb it and then swing back afterwards. Blank could have played that more patiently. They chose not to, and they pay for it with a second loss.
Cowman he's doing something special right here, shutting down Atar straight away on the Tac Visor, immediately left click or right clicks Eat Up as well. I don't even know which way he did it. He can choose. I don't care because he got it. That's
as long as you click. You just do both at once. You cover all your bases.
The ultimate Roadhog damage.
If your APM is high enough and you click both at exactly the same time, the computer takes 2 inputs instead of 1.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Hidden APM tricks.
Hidden APM techniques,
Write them down, folks.
Yeah, you got to, like when Diva's talking about that, like that's what she means.
Consider this. Dizzy, how many deaths did Dizzy have towards the end of the game? Because I didn't see a single
He died once. He died once, and that was the exact fight at the start where Blank actually took the point. Beyond that, never died.
Yeah, so I'm talking about the later end of the game, he just wasn't touched. And again, the protection was just so good. He had the damage output and Calme secured the kills when they needed. But now we're going to be into night markets. Early, this is going to be Blank taking early positioning on the back of the point. And it will be AHQ now taking position in the front. This is kind of, this is Blank saying they don't want to start an initial fight. They want to fight in the open area. They want to fight in the closed spaces.
I like this because it forces AHQ to dive onto them, and that's actually a comfort zone for Blank. Picking Keris early was good, but yeah, losing Kiki and now Trill, it's not even a trade anymore. There is actually now an opportunity for AHQ to get onto the point and dive onto it. Blank will be able to get the cap through beforehand though, which is at least something. It's more than nothing. But now, here comes the move in from AHQ. Patiently played so that they can now secure it straight back. And that was all down to getting those 2 members down from Blank earlier on.
Yeah, well, it's going to end up being, 6% that AHQ missed out on. The trade-off is Blank probably had the opportunity to fall back there. They would have saved maybe 3 additional lives. So the trade-off is 6% versus feeding some additional ults via those 3 people. No, it's debatable. We'll have to see what the difference between 6% on progress makes later on.
Yeah, I've yet to see Atar really have a big impact on this Genji, actually. And they can't just rely on the Tracer to do all the work for them, as good as Eat You Up may be. They're going to go for the commit here, the Sound Barrier to absorb most of it, and already they've gotten out of the picture. But now they're starting to get the trades back. Atar opening up with the Dragon Blade. This is his moment to shine, as they have their own Sound Barrier running. And they've outlasted AHQ's defensive tools. That is a good counterattack by Blank. And this is the patient play we expect out of them, and it pays dividends.
Save that one for the highlight reel. That was a good 3 to 4 picks coming up from Ato. We just said, yet to see huge impact out of the man. He showed up. He showed exactly what we needed to see. Waited for the sound barrier, came through into the Dragon Blade straight away. First target was Dizzy, annihilated him. Cowman went down early as well, so it's not going to be a counter Genji play against Aita. So for Blank, well executed. They're now in a position where they can start creeping back up.
And they're going to go ahead with the next commit here. Now, Dizzy trying to sit back safely and hit out the DPS, but it just means he's fighting away from the point. They can't get close to it. And Blank, like I said, this is comfort zone now. They're the ones who force AHQ's positioning, and they take advantage of it. As much as Lazy Titan is putting shots into Kiki's back, it is the back, because Kiki is moving back to the point, right? He has a team to fall back on. AHQ are still scattered.
Also, Cowman swapped to Tracer at some point there after getting killed by Aita. And AHQ, they're sort of in the position where Blank was earlier. They need to find an opening here. Got a couple of defensive ultimates. Cowman as well, pulse bomb. Maybe they will get a pick out of that. But where AHQ was succeeding, they're sort of struggling now. They were able to get these early pickouts, and now they can't find them.
Here they go, going to try and force Blank's hand, but a good ultimate to come out of Trill zones them off, but those are the picks they need. Forces out the Transcendence from carries, but then picks the healers off Blank. There's only RQT, and the sound barrier is one out now. Yeah, they are looking fine through this one. Eat you up, going down is very key. And that's the close out to get the recap through. There is plenty enough time for Blank to strike back still.
I really like AHQ absolutely understand where their strengths are, which is, hey, look, we're going to keep Dizzy onto the soldier. At no point are we going to attempt to switch Dizzy off now, because he is a good soldier. He is one of the best, if not the best, and he will be able to carry the weight of the team. Just got to give the guy room, give him the correct amount of positioning and protection. He will get the damage down. Now AHQ, they got control, they got the attack visor. This is their chance to get it done.
On the flip side of that, though, when Kiki and Atar successfully go for Dizzy, it really pays off. And then they go Atar straight onto it. There you have it, folks. Eat you up, getting the headshots through for it. And that is the easy secure out of Blank. This is what they aim to do when they go for those quick commits with their ultimates. This time it does actually pay off for them. And like I said, they had plenty of time for the counterattack. They should be able to close this one out here as Atar.
AHQ capped.
Now he's really, AHQ had capped earlier, sure, but Blank about to get the cap through now, and they have a few ultimates left in the back pocket. They should be able to close this one out.
Sorry, what am I talking about? They already had the cap. It was Blank. Blank didn't manage to get the caps in time because AHQ obviously stalled it out.
But here we go.
In terms of progress, it was fairly even. This is going to have to be a quick retake from AHQ.
Yeah, Blank looking to be proactive. Oh, nearly going over the edges, Kiki. And again, early ultimate out of him, crappy on the backside, and he's about to get a sound barrier, which will give them a bit more mileage, but they're already losing the members. Gunba gets the boost off at the nick of time. I continue. Oh, doesn't quite save Gunba, but he saves the rest of the team. And AHQ, no sound barrier left, means they are out of that cushion. They do not have that safety net below them anymore as the kills start to come up. Blank way. Yeah, it's Kiki doing the work. Erikin getting a trade back, but now Atar able to commit a Dragon Blade off the back end to secure it, close it out, and they do start to swing back.
Swing back with Atar's Genji sword. I think that was where the swing was definitely happening, because wasn't really working on Gardens. He had the Pharaoh, which got entirely blocked out time and time again. We look at Control Center again. Atar couldn't get the job done. He was on Soldier, couldn't find anything. Now on Genji, on to Night Market. It's been said before earlier tonight, but this is where Atar is most comfortable, and we can tell the results speak for themselves.
He classically was one of the, I won't even say one of the, like classically he was the Genji. He was the Genji in OCA, and there was a brief time where it was Yuki, and then it was Atar again. And the difference between Atar and a lot of the other Genjis as well was how the team could leverage him and how he played with the team. This is exactly that.
And I think he's listening because he's sticking onto it.
Yep. Good calls there, Atar. They still have an uphill battle ahead of them, but this is an early aggressive move by AHQ, and it's not paying off. They need to keep Dizzy alive, but oh, now it's starting to pay off. Yeah, Dizzy able to go into the full retreat as Erikin does the work. They didn't react to the dive well enough. Had they been able to just finish off Dizzy and then finish off Erikin on the front lane, they could have maybe done it. They do finally swing back onto Dizzy, but Shul's lost the mech. They don't have enough members to really go on this one. So unless EU does something absolutely nuts, this point is going to go AHQ.
That was ridiculous out of Erikin because he was totally unchallenged. It wasn't like he did anything particularly something special, jump to the back line, harass supports, turned into kill the supports because guess what? No one peeled Winston off. No one peeled Eric, and he got so many kills, it didn't matter that Blake had a couple back.
Where was Trill? I mean, that's what he needs to be doing. Cowman straight into pick Kiki, and now they are lean on tanks, no mech for Trill. So this time, yeah, sure, the supports and DPS live, but they have the opposite problem, and now the supports and DPS are going to get cleaned up. AHQ are going to charge their ultimates, and they are well entrenched on this defense now.
And AHQ, they're only losing sort of a couple members early. Kerry's died very early on there, and for Aita, still struggling to find an opening without Dragon Blade. He's nearly there, and Eat Up still needs to find a Pulse Bomb kill here as well. We're actually seeing Cowman really step it up for AHQ. One place where I thought was a little bit of a weakness for AHQ, maybe it could turn into a strength.
Hold on, that could be all they need. Picking Dizzy with that Pulse Bomb is huge, and there they go, straight on the offensive. They do lose Atar after he picked up the kill, but they have the numbers advantage now. Assuming they can close off Erican as he runs out this ult, they should be able to get this cap through. I won't call it lucky because it was just incredibly well placed, but up until the moment that went through, they were struggling to close out on Dizzy. That self-destruct should not have caught Eat Up. They pick off Erican though, and they are, like I said, set up on the point. They need to get Dizzy a second time though. There we go, Atar doing the work for them, and the self-destruct did zone off AHQ, forced out the sound barrier as well. So Blank are in a good spot here. They've actually bled AHQ for a lot of ultimates, even though it has bought AHQ a ton of time on the point. Blank will still get the cap through and should be able to defensively hold out.
That is now a really big commit out of Blank, and I guess it's a sound barrier in response to a Transcendence. Kiki actually pays for it with his life.
Dizzy coming in for a third time in this fight and doing work. And he gets Atar as well. Atar going maybe a bit too deep because now they're in a tight spot for this defense. Yeah, counter push time indeed, while Atar is dead, while he can't get the Dragon Blade.
And I think Atar's been a bit of a pain in the side of Dizzy as well, because before Atar was on the Pharah and Dizzy easily dealt with it. Now that he's on the Genji, Dizzy's dying a lot more, and this is definitely affecting HQ.
All right, Eat You Up, hunting down Crappy to start it off. Not a bad call. They are just barely keeping Trill alive. He is out of the mech, but that's going to be the ultimate, but stuck! What a great timing for that one. Deals with that tactical visor, which could have put Blank in a really tight spot, but now they're doing fairly well here, still holding on to this point, and Eat You Up, keeping the pressure on the side. This is what we expect out of him. Atar is going hard dive onto Dizzy, while Eat You Up harasses the rest of the team, and this tank lineup from AHQ starts to fall apart.
Eat You Up is so gross. The timing on the Pulse Bomb, the stick, the everything, getting himself out, transitioning into another kill. I mean, AHQ need to commit more to defending Dizzy. This may be time for Cowman to go back to Hog.
Yeah.
Maybe he goes back onto Zaya even, but Dizzy is getting taken out time and time again, where their strength was, keeping Dizzy alive, getting the consistent damage output that's not happening for HQ anymore.
Their tanks just look like they don't know where to go. Do I protect my healers? Do I protect my DPS? Or do I dive? Well, if you're Cowman, you stick Kiki and you try and circumvent that issue altogether. But here we go. Atar going deep. Gets Dizzy and the healer.
Double
Lazy
kill.
Titan. Oh, gee willikers. Lazy Titan pulling it out of nowhere. It looks like Blank still have the mileage. That sound barrier doing good work for them and Eat You Up, keeping the harass on. If nothing else, they're getting a lot of time on the point. A great sticking out onto the ulting Winston's ultimate. Yeah, the Boostio. They can do it. They can do it. And they are actually holding it down here. Luckily drawing out some ultimates from AHQ as well, so now Blank should be able to complete this hold. They have more ultimates to go on for themselves. Gunba quickly over to Soldier so they can bring in the extra DPS as King close out Dizzy one last time, and that could be all they need to hold it there. 99%. AHQ still trickling on, but it is exactly that. Now it is a trickle, and Blank, don't let the kill feed fool you. They are entrenched, even as RQT is away from the fight for now.
No one has ultimates. Trill's about to get one, but all the kills are going in Blank's way. Only Lazy trying to hold the front line, which means Dizzy won't last very much longer. And I don't know if AHQ can get back in this.
He's the only one doing it, and he knows he has to leg it to the point, which means he's going to go down before he gets the tactical visor, which could have otherwise swung the fight. And Blank, once again, they hit their stride and they look good.
I think they found the answer. I think they found what they needed to get Dizzy down. That this is a big factor. So where Blank struggled before, on the first Gardens, on the first control center, unable to get to the back line, unable to punish Dizzy. The defense was too good. The protection, again, too good also. Punishing Atar repeatedly. Now they're struggling to punish Atar. They're struggling to find Atar when he's playing Genji. And on the plus side for Blank, they're also getting Dizzy in the response.
What seemed to happen there, I mean, in that opening fight, AHQ dove with their tanks, And then Blank dove with their DPS onto the back line. The execution there was a little bit botched. They didn't find Dizzy, they didn't find Crappy, they didn't get the healers out. And then Blank got punished because their own healers were exposed, and the tank dive was successful out of AHQ. After that though, the execution was spot on, and suddenly AHQ's tanks looked like fools for diving the back line without their DPS and without protecting their own.
Well, we got a lot more tanks now for AHQ, a lot more protection, and this was where I would like to say AHQ had their most dominant display so far in Lijiang. All of these 5, across all 5 maps.
Ooh, the hook goes wide. Actually, Cowman gets hard punished for that. Really just trained down the moment he exposed himself to land the hook, and that puts AHQ into full retreat. Kind of punished for having only the 1 DPS, and this is where I expect we're going to see a lot of nanoblades, but this time around it is Blank getting the first cap purely off Cowman's missed hook.
Oh, it'll be the best result, the best possible damage controlled result for AHQ, right? Getting themselves out early, preventing additional feed, giving ultimates to the other side.
Ooh, that's bad news bears to start it off though. ATAR going down. That's a lot of their mileage to dive onto Dizzy. And now this tank lineup can go slow and steady to get forward. Good sleep onto Kiki, the charge. Oh, doesn't quite catch him. He isn't going to be able to retreat and pull back to his team. AHQ contested the point, but this is enough time now for ATAR to come back into it. Getting the pick on Trill might just be enough to open this one up for AHQ. Oh, Dizzy needs to be careful here on the backline. It's forcing him off if nothing else, but he does get Eat You Up down. He's forced well off, and it's really hard to say where this is going, but now starting to fall the favor of Blank. AHQ with that ultimate out. It's only helping tanks stay alive, but they've got enough health bars anyway. Eat You Up and ATAR, if they can stay slippery enough, they can keep the harass going for long enough, and then dive onto Dizzy as he comes back in the next time around. Ooh, good Earth Shatter though, secures it, and AHQ bleed it for just long enough.
That was a bit of a stall though. I mean, for ATAR in particular, I see that he was holding onto Dragon Blade. Probably a good idea not to use it, but this is as much just Blank trying to bleed out the timer for as long as possible, gets themselves to 58%, still holding onto Dragon Blade for a retake, does give AHQ a little bit of room to work with. They got a couple ults out of that as well. Cowman about to land onto the whole hog himself, but it's not over yet. Blank are definitely poised to take this.
They have the ultimates to do it, opening up with the sound barrier to signal the start of the fight, throwing everything at it to force AHQ's positioning, but they all get eaten by Lazy Titan. That's the 2 DPS. Blank are donezo for this push.
And 2 kills, exactly like you said, on both the DPSs. No way Blank's damage output completely annihilated, completely dismantled. And it's going to be the spawn camp now coming from AHQ as well. And I like this because you got the Earth Shatter ready to go, so Blank easily punishable again.
Yeah, they don't really have anything to stop that Earth Shatter, but they are going to back off. Yeah, I would have liked to see them commit to it, but I guess they didn't quite have the Earth Shatter and wanted to play safe. This is the one ultimate from Trill that they have to leverage here, but they don't get much for it. They're going to try and put on the pressure now with the nano boost on Kiki, but he gets flipped, hooked, and dropped down in a moment if he's not careful. No, just barely reaching to his team. Yeah, Boostio again. Crappy is the true carry here, and he is actually keeping the pressure on. Funnily enough, this is Blank on the retreat. They haven't actually picked off Dizzy just yet, and as the sound barrier comes out, it's not saving the DPS anyway. So like I said, again, Blank going to be forced back from this one.
Well, I'll tell you what, the silver lining for the boost here was that it allowed Crappy to get a little bit of ult charge. Dizzy turned out he didn't need the ult, he didn't need the nano anyway, because just the pure tech visor on its own was enough. And AHQ, we said, hey, the Earth Shatter wasn't ready. Now it is ready. Maybe it is time for AHQ to get a little bit more forward control, because there's no Reinhardt on the other side. There should be an easy Earth Shatter here.
They're not quite committing to it though.
And if they get it, they'll win.
Oh, they don't quite get it. ATAR slipped past. They do pick up the healers, but there's still maybe just enough for Blank to go off if they can pull out something crazy. That's a good one, getting Dizzy. And now ATAR off to the side to stay alive so that he can come back swinging with this Dragon Blade. But he's lost a lot of the support. He's going to commit to it now, but Lazy Titan's the only one in front of him, and he's able to find no one at all. No one from here for Blank to contest it, and it's going to be trickling on from this point onwards. They can't seem to crack this triple tank, no matter how hard they try. And AHQ, hard fought, hard won, will pick up the first map any moment now.
Yeah, as we just wait for the final moments for Blank to get to try and stall this one out, but it is just going to be trickle players, and even committing the nano boost. I don't think this is, well, I mean, they're going to really try and go for it.
Trill in a lot of trouble though, and here's going to be Dizzy opening it up with the attack visor to secure it. The jump up the Kiki cannot get you free of those sights. And yeah, the trickle on for Blank, it's a death knell. You know, they're spiraling the drain here. It's just a very deep sink.
It kind of is. You know, even with a couple of ultimates coming up, the timer does go down extremely quickly. I gotta say, AHQ, I'm happy about that performance. It was kind of good from both teams. I'm all in all very impressed with how both teams have sort of displayed themselves here, going all the way the distance 5 full stages in Lijiang. This is what I'm expecting, not just for the first map, but the whole series. 5 full maps out of these guys should be the standard, and this play of the game was so impactful by Atta. Straight after we said, look, Atta, I don't know if he's pulling weight, he pulled a lot of weight right there.
Something very cerebral was going on there, and that's how I would describe that first map. It was a cerebral matchup, right? When Blank hit their stride, they looked really good. And then AHQ went, well, how do we deal with that then? And both these teams were constantly going, how do we deal with this? How do we deal with this? How do we deal with this? And then we ended up on very last map, and AHQ just having that little bit of extra mileage, and Blank not adapting within that. I don't think that means that AHQ are necessarily the better team though, because let's say it's, you know, a best of 7. Do Blank then just adapt again? And how far does this one go? We're going to find out over these next 2 maps, but gentlemen, this has really said something different from the first 2 times.
And to be honest, I want to add for AHQ's their ability to adapt in there. We started off particularly on Control Center. The first time we saw Control Center, Cowman, he went out with the Zaya. Look, this didn't work. Cool, goes straight onto the hog. Bam, hooks himself the attack visor, gets himself a kill onto Eat Up as well. Comes back, you know, the second time we saw it in Control Center, gets kills. The guy is just doing the job. But I think still the weakness maybe is Cowman on the Tracer, because that is where he got easily outmatched by Eat Up. And we've said multiple times, specifically from me, Eat Up is the hard carry of Blank. If he's not dealt with, he will always have the opportunity to bring it back for them.
And speaking about adapting during the map as well, right? Going from Gardens 1 to Gardens 2, we saw AHQ. They clearly outclassed Blank on that map. There was some fight back coming out, but Dizzy, for the most part, uncontested, and the Farah combo just did not work at all for Blank. Then we come into Gardens number 2. Blank have said, all right, you know what? We'll just get this Farah plan, we'll screw it up, throw it in the bin, because we are fantastic at this dive comp. We are just going to dive straight onto Dizzy and take him out.
You can see there on your screens, actually, you can see the story of adaptation as it goes on. There were some smaller changes and some bigger changes, to be sure. And then, yeah, of course, places where it didn't change at all. Really, it was, you know, the Winston and Diva show for both of these teams. But the thing that you can't see in those picks is how they were playing as well. And the big thing that Blank seemed to crack is, you know, dive Dizzy, figure that one out. Figure out where these AHQ tanks are going and react to it.
So this is the big thing I picked up out of the 2 teams is, if we're going to talk about adaptation as a topic here, AHQ have shown abilities to play both dive with Winston, played by Erican, and then Erican goes on to the Ryan Hunt as well. They can play shield, they can play dive, they've got it nailed down. They can play triple DPS, 2-2-2. No, sorry, they can't play triple DPS. That's probably the one thing they can't do, but they play triple tank. Now, when we look at Blank, I don't want to say they're incapable, that they can pull out all those other compositions, but they're very much right now confident in playing either triple DPS or 2-2-2, and they're not willing to change off very much from that. And what the other thing they're not really willing to change onto so far from this is they're not willing to, at the moment, go on to Reinhardt. That may change throughout the series, but we've yet to see it. The biggest thing is we've yet to see if it will be successful.
I think, and it is, I'm just going to jump in because it is a very dive-heavy 2-2-2 that they're running as well.
Yes.
So we're also not seeing AHQ's 2-2-2 style where they're running things like Soldier, and it's working in one sense, but it is something that can hurt them as well.
I think the biggest thing to remember from Lijiang Tower as well, 2 of the maps that AHQ took out to help them win the series, both control center, right? And they ran that big triple tank composition. For the most part, there was a McCree in there, but Dizzy would swap onto Soldier at some points. And that's also where we saw Cowman swapping onto that Roadhog. That is very much anti-dive. And that is very much anti-Blank in those situations. So we talk about how Blank, sure, they sorted out the problem on Gardens where they thought, okay, look, Fire's not working. They didn't seem to have the same solution on Control Center where they say, okay, we're going to change up our composition. We can't run so much dive that can be shut down by Roadhog, by McCree, and just overall the entire amount of hit points that 3 tanks bring out.
Yeah.
So,
to be honest, at that stage, their biggest change-up would have probably have been maybe switch Gumba from Ana onto Zenyatta. The Discord Orb would have started to help with taking the tanks down, but more importantly, where are Blank's strength? They are on Eat Up playing Tracer, and specifically now HR playing Genji. It's been established, HR and Soldier, so-so, HR and Farah immediately shut down, HR and Genji, swing sortie, gets the kills, quad kill, bam, that's a win on night markets. This is exactly where Blank are confident on, where they're getting results out of. They can't afford to change off that right now. If they're gonna make any changes, you have to get Gumba back onto the Zenyatta, add the Discord on, suddenly your dive has even more strength. That's where the Strider Blank are right now.
If you're not going to be putting EU up on Soldier, exactly. Like, that's the only way you can shred down those tanks. And it seemed, I mean, if we're talking about this first control being a game of adaptation between the two teams, right? The ultimate adaptation out of AHQ was the moment Blank went, oh, they're playing Protect the Dizzy. Let's figure out how to dive this. AHQ went, they figured out how to dive the Dizzy. Let's protect him harder. And it worked.
You know what else? I really think that Dizzy maybe should have made the adaptation onto McCree for the second Guardians while he was being so pressured. He needed a little bit of defense for himself.
Bit of self-peel.
And if he had the flashbang, he had the role, the combat role as well, maybe that would have helped him out. It's a little bit of hindsight in action. We'll have to just see how we go.
Guess where we're going though? We are going deep into Blank territory. This is Numbani. This is the most comfortable.
I don't know if you could tell. I don't know if you could really say this is still Blank territory.
Well, okay.
Well, they picked it.
It has been Blank territory for longer than it hasn't been Blank territory, and I mean, they'd be keen to reclaim it as well. If nothing else, we know how comfortable this is for Blank. Even if other teams are catching them on it, it's still comfortable enough for Blank that you are going to pick it. This is no surprise at all.
Let me tell you where Blank are currently sitting in the hybrid pool. They don't want to pick Kings Row right now because they've been full held by every good team so far in Kings Row in this competition, every good team being AHQ and Flash Wolves. They don't want to go, they so far have no history of ever going to either Hollywood and some history of going to Iconwall, but I'm gonna treat that as a bit of a troll pick against specifically Fireball, so that's not one of their maps either. They have only Numbani to go to after Kings Row, and I don't believe they're as comfortable on Numbani anymore either, specifically not after the performance against Detonator on Numbani, and specifically after dropping Numbani to various other teams.
That's a very big point, right? I mean, we talk about the Numbani matchup against Detonator. Detonator, very, very almost full held Blank on the first point, and we're talking about how this is their comfort pick, and unfortunately, as AVRL said, right, the other three maps kind of less of an option, so we are going to Numbani. I think Blank still do pretty well on this map on defense. They can hold generally pretty well on the first point, and then Streets phase, as long as things don't get too hectic, too messy on the first point, and they don't start throwing bodies at the payload to try and stop it in the Streets phase, they can compose themselves and hold it during there. And then third checkpoint, well, everyone's good at defending that. So I think Blank can hold out on here. They just need to keep composed, especially if things go really wrong at first point.
Just for a little bit of a history lesson as well, the last time we saw these guys on Numbani, it was the deciding map 5 of AHQ versus Blank, and AHQ struggled to complete the cap onto cap number 3. They couldn't quite make it there, but you know what Blank did? They didn't even get cap number 1. So are Blank going into, now I'm going to say AHQ territory?
In spite of that though, I would still say on paper, and this is more related to what we just saw in Lijiang Tower, I do feel that Blank are just a little bit more favored in this because that protect the Dizzy, oh, let's just protect him even harder approach is not an option for AHQ here. So if Blank do find the right way to dive onto Dizzy, AHQ have to take a totally different approach. They can't just play protect the Dizzy.
I actually think they can play protect the Dizzy far better on this map, far better on this.
Reckon?
Far better on these game modes than on Control, because on Control, Dizzy has to put himself in open area. You look at Lijiang Gardens, where's the guy meant to stand? He's got nowhere to stand. Where's he going to be? On the courtyard? No, he's going to get killed. You want to put him on Numbani, suddenly he's got cover, he's got cubby holes, he's got narrow doorways he can run through, and tanks to protect him with a lot less flanking maneuvers that the other team can take in.
And the important thing as well is you can do this on both attack and defense,
Absolutely.
right? With enough brute force, you can get Dizzy up on that defender's balcony, and then he's the defender.
Well, once again, thank you very much, Smite, to help us break down that first map and set the stage, as it were, for map number 2. Now, AHQ 1-0 up after a very tight control. And will we be in Blank territory or AHQ territory? It's hard to say, but we will definitely be in Nigeria.
Oh, Blank is going to run the token RQT main. Now, before anyone gets up in arms about this is not an XQQ main. This is a very well practiced, very deliberate.
This is an RQT main.
This is an RQT main.
Yeah, this is a win the Summer Series Finals main.
Yeah. This is not only that, but the interesting thing to note here is the lack of healing from Blank. So no, this is Blank, something they haven't brought out for a long time, but it's not unexpected either.
It's a triple tank that relies on a lot of self-heal. It's in I Eat You Up and ATAR, and also to an extent RQT, so Gunba can really focus on keeping Kiki and Trill, and of course himself, topped off. And really that's where it's coming from. Interesting maneuvering by AHQ to come around the far side of this one, and ATAR reacting to it well,
Good
I think,
rotation.
as they take the opposite high ground now. They're not going to let AHQ completely dupe them.
Oh, this is going to be a
Chili Reinhardt.
to get in. Well, that's fine because they got themselves past the ice wall. Just got to get Eric back up. They got to get Eric's health back up, get a shield back up. They can break through. This is not impossible for HQ. They got to find an opening.
But they're struggling because now the ice wall will be back up again, and they have to be careful with how they time this so that no one gets isolated. And actually, they are now kind of walking into the death bowl here with how Blank is set up.
You know how this game's going to start? This fight's going to start when the first Ana gets their nano boost. I tell you that right now. It's exactly when the go button is.
Guaranteed. And it's a tight race between the two currently carriers leading it. But the pick on ATAR could be the other one. The Dizzy versus ATAR is where it's happening. Now Trill goes to dive Dizzy to deal with him, but it may be just too little too late as AHQ starting to get on top of this one. And Gunbit goes down. No nano boost for him. There's going to be the nano visor, and that should be AHQ cracking this egg wide open and scrambling Blank to bits.
Yeah, and that egg is called ATAR currently, getting himself picked out straight away. Cracked open, the defense, even a Blizzard. RQT is going to swap anyway, so that doesn't even matter. But hey, AHQ, they found an opening, they took it. I said it was probably going to be the nano boost to bring things open. Actually, if you can just go fish and get yourself a hook in there, get yourself a kill, then use the nano boost after you got himself.
As part of what is making this matchup so exciting is how both of these teams can take everything from the smallest of openings, and it really becomes this game of can we not give anything away?
I'll Blank have a couple of moments here to maybe have a bit of a counter attack.
Oh, and another nano boost taken completely out of the picture. Blank have to retreat quickly off that one. And they're trying to stay as safe as they can, but nice movement by Cowman. He hooked Gunba off the backside, and then ATAR seemed surprised to see him there. That was a big mistake out of Blank to stay committed to that, and they're going to give away a ton of payload distance here.
I don't know if this is Overwatch or Mortal Kombat because Cowman says, get over here, even back to RQT. You want to know something about that whole hog as well. He prevented the escape route for Blank by pushing every other Blank member, or attempting to push every other Blank member, directly back into AHQ. Now Blank still haven't used many ultimates. They got a chance.
Oh, they're forcing the ultimate out of Kiki here. That is going to get him right deep into this one, and does give Blank a moment to commit to the fight. They're going to go ahead for it with that nano visor, but it kind of gets absorbed so far by the sound barrier. They got nothing for it. Now Dizzy sitting on his own visor, trying to wait for carries, but no, he's going to commit to it anyway. They get ATAR already, and now no protection for Gunba, as I don't know where Trill was flying to. He was looking for Dizzy, but Dizzy had already gone. And that was sloppy execution for Blank.
Well, I'll tell you what Trill did fly to. He's going straight back to the respawn room. A little bit of a token stall out from Eat Up is going to allow the rest of Blank to respawn in time. In time to do what though? Because they need to be able to find a defensible position. In fact, not even that. They need to actually find an opening to initiate, because every time so far in Numbani, it's been Cowman initiating, not Blank.
Here is Gunba now onto that Zenyatta. Like you said, they feel like they need that extra tank trade, and they absolutely do with how much Cowman is harassing the sides here. But that's going to be the open out. Forces out the sound barrier, but that's enough to actually hold this one out. They do lose Trill, but having picked up Crappy and already taken carries out of the picture, these tanks will start to melt. Gunba does go down, so they're going to have a slightly harder time of it, but they are in the position to do it anyway. This is where AHQ did struggle last time, and Blank looked poised to do it again.
Yeah, AHQ had a couple of moments there. They spent the Earthshatter, completely missed, couldn't pick up any kills to sort of make up for it. Eat-Up had a field day. He got his pulse bomb ready to go now. Blank, this is the position where they finally stabilize, and the conversation has always been, when you get to the third cap, you get to the third checkpoint, the defense needs to be able to stabilize, and they should. They have Blank, the balls in their court. They got to do something. I want to see what.
Yeah, there will be a nano visor combo coming out soon, or they can maybe instead go for that nano hog. Options available for AHQ, but the positional advantage is still in favor of Blank unless a bad pick comes through. This is quite aggressive out of Kiki. No ult just yet, but they really want to force AHQ's hand, force their positioning, and force them into a tight corner here. But oh, careful there. Kiki nearly goes down. Trill out of the mech. There's maybe even worse for them now. No protection for the healers as AHQ commit hard. There they go. That's the nano visor, and they're straight onto the back line. Kiki, he's off in Wonderland on the back line of AHQ, finding absolutely nothing, and leaves his own team exposed.
That was amazing moves by Dizzy, dancing right underneath the Kiki. And he's like, cool, Primal Rage. Well, what's the rest of your team doing? I'm just going to take him down. It's exactly what happens we're on the final stretch.
Yeah, now AVRL getting locked in the base. Dizzy trying to stop it from coming out. There we go. Gunba though speeding onto the point to try and get his team some mileage. But like I said, AVRL locked in the base. His Cameron screws that.
Hit.
Good Earth Shatter by Erican. Yeah, that hit, and it hit like a freight train. They are trying to swing back though. The sound barrier kind of saved them through that. It's very ropey, very dicey, but the divers coming through there. AHQ are struggling to get over the line, but getting AU up is huge for them, and that should be them closing this one out. Unless something crazy comes out of Blank here, because the backliners from AHQ are secure. The frontliners are dishing out the damage and stopping Blank from getting on the payload.
Dizzy, the moves
that
again.
That is huge. That is absolutely huge. And this will be the cap to come through for AHQ. A little bit better than last time. They do take it to the end.
A little bit better. I think this is now a lot better. I don't want to count my chickens before they hatch because it's not quite over. Still a token defense coming out of Blank, but how long will this last? They have a primal rage, which means they can stall up for yet a bit longer.
A little bit longer than token, because they've managed to get the full round of respawns. AHQ maybe got a little bit complacent. They stopped kettling them in the base, but there's a big one. Lazy Titan, how many times will it happen? He seems to be the only diva who can get kills without self-destruct, but that's all it takes. Trill now out of the picture, and this time, now it will actually be the cap.
And just when you think, you know, maybe Blank have got it, no, Lazy Titan hits the button, nuke the whole place, he says. Straight from orbit, coming down.
Also, you got to say, just when you think AHQ have got it, like I said, they did drop the ball a little bit. They stopped kettling Blank in their base. They stopped keeping them stuck there and went, all right, we've done it. Let's go into the payload now. And then actually suddenly Blank had this full round of respawns. I think that took AHQ a little bit by surprise. Yeah. It didn't matter because they still capped, but it did lose them about 30 seconds of time.
And I think AHQ have definitely found a winning formula here, sticking onto the triple tank. Even with the Reinhardt, at this point, I think they're having more success with the Reinhardt than with the Winston. If they keep doing this, Blank are the ones that need to be constantly adapting, because AHQ found what has worked. I don't think Blank have.
Yeah, they seem to start adapting. They did put Gunba onto that Zenyatta, like you mentioned. But
right at the end.
Yeah, right at the end, exactly. They had plenty of other opportunities to do it. I think it didn't help that he died twice with Nano Boost up. I think he was wanting to get that off before they swapped. But even so, they could have just gone, okay, after last game, AHQ are likely to pull triple tank. Let's start with Zenyatta.
I want to tell you who, so far, man of half the match so far has got to be Cowman. The guy opened up Cap 1. He also opened up Streets phase. One hook each is exactly what AHQ needed to get themselves that initial push on through to get over the edge. And every single time it was AHQ with their finger on the trigger first, and Blank were always second to pull the gun out of the holster. And if it's high noon, baby, well, you're going to get shot.
Yeah, it doesn't. If it's high noon and your watch is at 11:59, you're in a bad spot. What are you doing, Lazy Titan?
This is how he practices his self-destruction.
That's him raising his APM. Well, at best here, Blank can maybe push it to a time bank.
If your APM is high enough, you can self-destruct your mech and also get a new one straight away.
Yeah, you get into the mech while it's self-destructing. Hidden techniques.
Right, AVRL back on Genji, so this is what they need.
Oh, no.
That's not what they need.
That's definitely not what they need. AD up, not actually on the Tracer. That's a hook onto a soldier. AVRL into full retreat is going to fall into the safety net here of Trill.
The safe, loving, big arms
The
of
warm
Trill.
embrace of high APM.
No, high APM is Lazy Titan.
Well, Trill is also playing Diva, but you're right. Of the two...
You're not wrong.
Yeah, the two Divas, Lazy Titan. He's not really lazy if his APM is
Tell you what, AHQ are they're very stubborn about this Scorpion.
What?
They really want to get this Scorpion. It has been working, but we'll just... Technically, AHQ at first held Blank on this exact place on this cap with the Torbjorn, so if it's worked before, Blank haven't shown an ability to get past it. Have they adapted?
Yeah, all they need to do is what they have currently been doing, which is just get one pick each time because of how Blank's comp is built. They can't 5v6 this, not against Cowman, not if he can turn it into a 4v6 after that. So here they go, looking to try and get it through this time. No early pick, yeah, dodging the hook was big for them, but they're already on the cusp of losing some members on the back line. They're struggling to make it out of this room as AHQ come in with the react. Eat You Up is on full retreat. Lazy Titan out of the mech though could be the opening they need. Kera's committing the boost for it, and Erican trying to keep him kettled in the room is starting to fail as now AHQ are forced onto the point. Yeah, Blank going to go full commit. AVRL unfortunately going down was one of the few ultimates they could leverage, but yeah, Primal Rage from Erican means it's going to be a bit of a hard ask for Blank still, even as they have now taken the high ground. Oh, and they lose Gunba too.
AHQ need more kills. I mean, just getting AVRL is absolutely not enough. They need to convert onto further kills. That is starting to be the case for AHQ. They got a few extra in there, but just getting one kill at a time still gives Blank the ability to come buyback still gives Blank the ability to charge up their own ults without feeding that much back to AHQ, and actually puts AHQ in a far more neutral position than where they could be if they can clean up a little bit better.
They just look so skittish, you know?
Who
And
do?
AHQ, Blank do, and AHQ are, they're really riding that, right?
We're about to get 6 ults, by the way.
If they can't do it here, they can't do it anywhere, right? They're going to go right in on it. That's everything in the kitchen sink. He misses everything off the top of that. That's with the Blade and Nano Boost. The Soundbarrier already committed, and they've found nothing. Eat You Up, thankfully, kind of holding down the fort as he picks up Cowman as well. Don't know how Atar got a Nano Visor kill with once again, I don't know what the kill feed's doing there, but in any case, Dizzy trying to strike back now, doing a good amount of work, but Blank are going to be able to come back into this one. They should be able to get onto Dizzy, but no, they're kind of being skittish here. It's just Trill on the point. They need to commit. They're all half and half, and AHQ are the one set up on this one. The ultimate out of Lazy Titan is big, if only to zone Blank, and now they force Trill out of the mech. They regain the ground that Blank had taken off them. Blank did not consolidate their gains.
You're in the wrong place, Kiki.
The 6th ultimate attack is repelled.
And it started with that failed dash from Atar. You see that he went straight into the bridge. He wanted to go for Dizzy, couldn't get Dizzy, wanted to turn around, goes onto Lazy Titan, ends his Dragon Blade straight away. But what he did get was pretty funny, is he's playing Soldier and Genji at the same time, because yeah, he got that nano, got that visor kill.
That was really strange, eh? Because it said Atar on Genji had got a tactical visor kill. I don't know how that works.
That's a Dragon Visor.
Dragon visor.
The fabled Dragon Visor comes into play.
It's the 3rd Shimada brother.
They may need a Dragon Visor for real if they want to win this.
They
though,
really
because
do.
so
They're
far
already
behind. Again.
absolutely screwed for this last attack.
boy.
There's no two ways about that. Cowman just putting the team on his back here. You're right, MVP indeed, and Blank have yet to figure out how to kill a Roadhog.
All right, I think, you know what, gentlemen? Nail in the coffin, Numbani is officially AHQ territory.
Yep.
No longer in the hands of Blank. It has been invaded.
Oh,
it has been conquered. The white flag comes up for Blank, and the red flag comes up for AHQ.
Yeah, this is Bat Country. And by bat, I mean AHQ. A baseball bat. I don't know, to hit Blank in the head with, I don't know where I'm going with this. But in any case, you're dead right. Numbani is no longer Blank's pick, at least not when these two teams meet. Now, that first control was very hard fought and very hard won. Numbani, though, I'm going to go ahead and say that was a blowout. There was no real point where Blank mustered a solid defense except for the very 3rd point. But when
You're going to want to see this.
This is going to be great. But when last time AHQ didn't cap the 3rd point, and this
Elio?
time they did, last time they did not cap the 3rd point, and this time they did, Blank's one decent defense doesn't really count for much. And then again, failing to first cap, that's a worse performance than last time. And now they're 2-0 down in the series. They are on the cusp of getting 3-0.
So the last time AHQ didn't fully cap the whole map. This time they did. Blank got first held now twice in a row by the same team in the exact same spot. So still failing to get past the door. Now I'm going to say Blank's weakness again. When Eat Up doesn't play Tracer, they can't get their sustained kills. I'm just going to say Eat Up on Soldier is underwhelming compared to Eat Up on Tracer. And also Atar on anything but Genji so far has also been underwhelming. Even though he was on Genji, he had one opportunity to take down Dizzy. He missed a shot on that. I think they kind of balked the entire push.
Yeah, I feel like the big question around Blank coming into this, all notions of rematch and that aside, the big question for Blank from the moment they lost a game, the question was, will they ever get ahead of the 8-ball again? And now I think even if they win this, they're going to win it in a 5th game. It is going to be a tight, difficult series. That is not ahead of the curve anymore. That is just barely ahead of the line.
It's not the same undefeated Blank we had in the first round of the round
Certainly
robin,
not
anymore. I mean, remember, in the 2nd round, they lost to both the other 2 top 3 teams, Flash Wolves and AHQ. AHQ, it did take them to a 5th match, but Flash Wolves did it in a 3-0, and AHQ have been improving ever since then. So it's the results are speaking for themselves, because we're coming up to potentially a 3-0, and because the next map is Assault, it's Assault, it's AHQ's pick.
And it's Blank's weakness, traditionally.
And it's also that Numbani defeat was pretty devastating, but the last time we saw AHQ play Blank on Temple of Anubis, that was also a devastating defeat for Blank.
And that was before AHQ were in their current form as they are now. This is the strongest AHQ have ever looked at. I want to tell you something. When we looked at Flash Wolves versus Blank, Flash Wolves did not look as dominant as AHQ do now. They look good. AHQ look totally in control.
Absolutely, and this is scary territory now for Blank, right? I mean, if you can beat every single team, but you lose to the other two teams in the top 3, that is terrifying, right? Because that's what you carry into you with playoffs. That basically says, doesn't matter that you made it and you can't beat these two teams, the final is between them, see you later. So Blank have to, if they do lose this, they then have to at least be able to turn it around on Flash Wolves. Otherwise, you really start to question whether they are champion material anymore.
And you know what? I don't know about you, Smite, but as a New Zealander, I'm really getting scared of Taiwan now going towards the World Cup because this is just
just a little bit. Because I mean, similar to Australia.
And you were like really confident before?
No, but I mean, this is like, I mean, at least before it's like, Blank are a known quantity. They can beat AHQ, but this is something else. I can't tell if this is Blank underperforming, which I don't believe it is. I think Blank is still doing what Blank do. Blank are Blank, but AHQ have stepped up.
It's also, like, to speak to that as well, right? So I said before the map, in Numbani, if Point 1 goes terribly for Blank on the defense, which it did, they need to compose themselves and make sure they go into the first engagement without just throwing bodies at the payload. Now, it may not have looked like that was the result, but they did go in there with a plan. They had their healers up on high ground. They were positioning on the payload, taking a good fight. The only thing was, Cal the man got in behind enemy lines. Hogman, whatever you want to call him. MVP almost for sure, I've got to say. He got that hook onto Gunba, took him out of the fight immediately, and then we were talking about how Blank should have backed off from that, but AHQ just said, no way. Like, if you want to back out, there's no possible way for you to do that. You also said that Whole Hog cut off their retreat as well. I think even to a point, they could have held them anyway, but because of that, AHQ just fully read Blank like a book, and Cowman just somehow snuck behind enemy lines. Like, how does a Roadhog do that? That is something that Blank should definitely
he's
be keeping your ear out for.
He's a big guy. I mean,
he's got asthma too, so you should even hear, hear him like breathing as he comes in, like, and no matter how like tiptoeing, but like you should be able to hear that. But the thing is, right? I'll be honest, my initial read of that was like that was miscalled. Like Gunba didn't call that out, and the whole team got taken by surprise. But actually, when you look at it, you're completely right. He'd already cut off the retreat, right? So when you're Blank in that position, even if you had a retreat committed to the retreat straight away, you would have still been caught by them. The Roadhog, and then the rest of the team would have collapsed and you would have got wiped. So they go, look, we might as well take a fight here and maybe we can actually turn it around. The fact that AHQ put them in a situation where that was their best option is a masterstroke of positional play.
Exactly, and this is why I always commend and will always continue to commend AHQ on their strategical depth of planning as long as they continue to make these kind of performances, because they understand, like I said earlier, just getting those picks is not good enough. You got to convert the picks into further picks, into bigger advantages, into a objective victory. So that's exactly what they did. How do we get this one pick and turn it into more? Well, what do? You cut off the escape path for Blank, then allow your team to collapse on there, then you push the card. It's 1, 2, 3, A, B, C, and in this case, AHQ.
Sure.
They're writing a new alphabet.
Yeah, the other thing is we are redefining the alphabet here, boys. We're starting with a blank slate, now it's AHQ. So the one thing I do want to bring up, though, is if we're talking about positional play, we do have to remember Lijiang Tower, and especially how that second Gardens went, where Blank actually started to turn it around, because they figured out what AHQ were doing positionally, they positionally adapted to it, and then AHQ didn't really react to that. That is still something Blank can absolutely do. They didn't do it on Numbani. I think we can dissect why that happened, over and over again, but the only thing that matters now moving forward is, can Blank actually do it again now on Assault?
It's going to depend on which map does get picked out.
Do you remember Sun Sister fully kept out?
I am aware. I was there. Where were you when Sun Sister kept out?
Where were you when Sun Sister double kept out?
I was sitting right here, well, right there, but double cap against Blank by the team that's at the bottom of the table, Temple of Anubis, AHQ's pick. Surely we're going to Temple of Anubis.
Yeah, well, we'll see after the break whether they are going to be picking Temple of Anubis. Certainly wouldn't be surprised if that is the case, or maybe AHQ want to take them back to something more like Hanamura. In any case, it is Blank down right now. AHQ looking to win this rematch in even more convincing fashion than the last one, which was only a week ago. We're going to be back in just a few minutes with what could be the last game of the series, so don't go anywhere. Thank you very much for sticking with us through that. We are back and better than ever. We have been vibrating in our seats here because we're all so excited. Exactly like that.
Like that.
Exactly like that's all we did for 2.5 minutes. Was just we just
look like you're having a
because we're
seizure.
so excited, guys, aren't we? And like we really are. I mean, this is now this is Blank like on the ropes, let's be honest, in a worse position than last time they met AHQ. And we now know, like straight off the bat, what that third one is going to be. It's not going to be Temple of Anubis. I think AHQ have read this one very well. It's going to be Hanamura.
Yeah. Well, let the dragon consume me because that is such a surprising map to come out here.
They need that. They need to pull out the dragon visor to win this one.
The
Blank.
dragon
They need
visor.
They need to find the third
fable.
Shimada brother. Track him down. Like there's Mario and there's Luigi and then there's like, I don't know. I don't even think Wario is their brother. He's just weirdly named the same way.
In development,
Just some
Genji
Jeff.
and oh my gosh.
Need to find Jeff Shimada, guys.
In development, Genji and Hanzo were actually the same character, and they ended up getting split into two. So,
Gonzo. And they needed twice the healing.
God, can you imagine that?
How toxic that character would have been.
I don't want to think about
We
it.
need a boss mode later on with both of them together. Anyway, it is going to be on Hanamura, and there was a discussion, which is, do we think it was going to go to Temple of Anubis? And there were a lot of good reasons to go to Temple of Anubis. Hey, AHQ beat them on it before. Munchie have beat them again. They looked a little bit shaky against Sun Sister, but the other side of the discussion was, you know, I kind of said this as well. Blank picked Ilios against Sun Sister. Blank did a couple of questionable things against Sun Sister. It did look like they were holding back.
Yeah, it certainly did. And I mean, look, sandbagging is a dirty word. So we're not gonna talk about this in terms of sandbagging, but that was also Blank going, look, we're playing the bottom of the table team. Immediately afterwards, we're playing the team that is tied with us for first place and probably our biggest threat, not just for this next round robin, but in playoffs in general. You know, Flash Wolves aside, maybe you do try and trick that team.
I think
maybe. I'm not going to go ahead and say that is what they were doing, but it is a feasible explanation. And if we run with that explanation, AHQ have read that, and now they've moved away from it. They're going for Hanamura.
Yeah, I think sandbagging is probably not the right term. It's more like
Teabagging.
Blank.
It's mind games. It's mind games.
It didn't feel like teabagging when Sun Sister 2 capped them.
Yeah,
but
it was no part of that.
but
Was
what
a
did
fix.
it feel like?
It's more like hiding information rather than holding back or sandbagging, right? Because
Yeah,
they were playing
actually,
a composition that no one on the couch here thought realistically, like, would Blank run this against AHQ? No, they wouldn't run a Widowmaker on defense for both
a Mercy.
points. With a Mercy. So clearly, they were hiding some information. So they were still able to pick up the win, and I think that's good. I don't want to call it holding back, because it's not. It's hiding information.
Yeah, sandbagging, to be clear, is intentionally losing to hide your strength and give yourselves easier games further on in the tournament. And like that's why it's a bit of a dirty word, because we question competitive integrity. But that is absolutely not what's going on here. Don't get me wrong. Thank you very much for helping us break that one down, Smite. And well, that could be the last time you break down AHQ and Blank with us for today. Of course, there are games after this, because here we are now. Hanamura, Cherry Blossoms in full bloom as AHQ look to close it out against Blank Esports in a 3-0 stomp.
And what is going to be defense first again, Crappy, still on the tall burn. Hey, it works once and maybe it works again. Cowman, not going to be on the hog this time.
Eat you up. Oh, it is going to be onto that Widowmaker. Maybe this is all they need to leverage it.
Yeah, I think it could be going to look for some opening picks here, but against triple tank, Blank's biggest issue will be to try and break through, gets an early turret, so forcing the replacement pretty early.
This is smart though. Atar is onto the point. He's going to force AHQ on here, and that opens up the sidelines for Eat You Up. This is very clever positional play, and good work by Atar and Kiki to actually break through here, taking out the turret once again. Eat You Up does have to retreat for a moment here, but the team is well set up here. Blank are in a good
doors are
position.
open.
Dizzy is going to have to commit onto this point any minute now, and it's not going to be an easy fight for him.
And AHQ need to be able to find a position where they can sort of
That's 2/3 given up.
Wow.
Nearly.
You,
Nearly
no,
the
yeah,
second
well,
third.
1/3 is given up. I think 2/3 would have been a little bit hasty from AHQ, and they need to be able to bring it back. They are getting the kills in there, as long as they can prevent sightlines against... What?
Whoa, hello.
That was a good headshot.
Yeah, it was indeed. There was a bit of a clutch moment there where they were able to swing it back to Blank, but good discipline actually by AHQ to back off for long enough to let themselves what am I trying to say? What's the word I'm looking for? Kevin, help me out here. Re-attack.
Re-engage.
Re-engage, thank you. There we go. To re-engage the fight before
Reinstall?
that second, third came up. Yeah, I need to reinstall my vocabulary, it turns out.
Blank need to reload for a moment as well and Eat Up looking still for kind of positioning here. It is hard for Widowmaker
Like you said,
to get past these triple tanks.
Yeah, and there he goes.
Especially if you die.
Straight down. You almost reckon they may be better poised changing here, but they want him so that he can pick Dizzy or Keres. So I can't blame them for that, but it's not working so far. And this time, Atar not slipping through the same way he did last time. They do take out the turrets. They do have a bit of a window, but if Trill goes down, then they lose it straight away.
I'll tell you the weakness of this composition as well. Eat-Up can only go into Soldier from here, or he can go into Zai. He can't pick up a Tracer because Atar's already there. So that, compositionally, Blank are limited.
All right, here they go. They're going to commit a sound barrier to get the mileage for this one. Oh, that is a really nice Graviton, followed up with the Earth Shadow, all of the crowd control. They haven't actually got many members for it, though, so Blank have kind of weathered the storm. Here is now going to be the next part of it. Now, in the eye of it, as it were, as the Molten Core has come out, then there is going to be the swing back in favor of AHQ as they start to clean up the kills. Blank, they did actually get the second third, though, so they may be poised to take this next push.
The other great thing about AHQ's lineup here is with Crappy on the Torpid, the additional armor is going to help a lot against Eat-Up. It's going to make sure you're not just going to get straight headshot killed for the majority of the members. It will just increase the difficulty required and the skill required out of Eat-Up.
Ladies and gentlemen, I owe you an apology. They did not actually get that second third. It must have been a hair's breadth away
65%.
from the cap. Yeah, 65% you can actually see up there. That is how close they got, but close but no cigar, I suppose. Rest in pepperonis, Graves. Here is now AHQ set up. Yeah, everything's fine. On this high ground here, Dizzy, this is where he wants to be. Armor in pocket, healers there with him too. Well clear of each you up.
Infrasight in tow as well, so if you're Eat-Up right now, you're probably looking for Dizzy. I'd be really careful if I was Dizzy.
And you know that you can't find him. There's going to be the turret down. Trill going deep onto that one. Bakiki is getting completely trained down. That's the open up for AHQ. They do lose a few members at that same moment, though. So it's going to be a little bit of a ropier fight. But Dizzy able to commit onto the point this time. That could hurt him, but no. He's able to secure the kills. He did not leave himself too exposed there. There was a very calculated move by him. And now Blank are running out of time.
Yeah, and I think AHQ were a little bit uncalculated in the fact that they gave up the second third there. To be honest, it was already at 65%, but I think AHQ could probably have held that a little bit tighter. You're right, we got 10 seconds left to go, and Blank, if they're not careful, this is going to be another easy shutout.
They've got to go, and AHQ know it's there, ready for them on the point as Atar goes straight on in. The Graviton is here for when the team follows up, but they're not doing it. Blank aren't committing the way AHQ are expecting. He's throwing them for a loop as they pick Ericid. Good maneuvering. Dizzy does find his counterpart, but there come through the kills for AHQ, all in the Graviton, everyone up in the club, but the club don't want no members. It is full, and Hanamura stays shut.
And AHQ want to turn this three-man club into a one-man club, kicking the other two members out. And I don't think they'd be too concerned with that at all. That's exactly what AHQ would be quite comfortable with. And the thing is, I've said this already, but compositionally, Blank were absolutely stuck. Even at the end, Eat-Up, he had to change on the Soldier. And if he has to change on the Soldier, that means his Widowmaker pick did not pull dividends. And I think that's been the case. It's a bit of a risky maneuver. What happens if Eat-Up doesn't land the shots into Widowmaker? Suddenly you're playing 5v6. Your ultimate Infrasight, well, that really realistically does nothing in this case. So you're playing 5v6 when you're already behind. Guess what? You run out of time. Go into Soldier. Too late.
And why not swap earlier? I mean, if you're not finding the picks, right at the start, Dizzy is then going to go, look, they're running Widowmaker constantly. I'm just going to never be in their sightlines. And because they got triple tank, they got enough people to hold down the point itself while Dizzy can stand clear of it. And the only time he ever committed to the point was when he needed to do so to close it out. And he did so in a way that didn't put himself at risk. So AHQ just reacted to it perfectly, and I feel like Blank should have changed way, way earlier than they did.
I just don't think they should have restricted themselves. I think they should have kept Tracer open if possible, or just not gone Widowmaker altogether, because like I said, the strength for Blink and the strength specifically is in one player. Eat-Up, when he plays Tracer, the man pulls the entire, not the entire weight of the team, but he's incredible on that Tracer. Best Tracer of the entire tournament, no doubt. Bacon Jack's catching up. But Tracer is still very deeply in Eat-Up's hands. Now, when you see the difference here, if he's not onto Tracer and Atar is, not the same. It's just, they're miles apart.
They also kind of lost the Diva option for themselves as well. We can,
RQT.
This is interesting. RQT bringing up the May special. Maybe springtime in Hanamura, but he wants to chill it out.
Yeah, it's... I don't know about this one. I'm struggling to... Because they brought it out already on Numbani, where I would say they're a lot more confident with this, but we'll have to see. What is interesting is Blank playing the shield composition. Trill is back onto the Reinhardt, and they're pulling this out at the 11th hour. I don't know if this could be it, or it just is going to fall flat. I'm not too sure yet.
If it works, it's going to work phenomenally, but if it falls flat, they're going to look stupid. Let's be completely clear, but there's going to be the opener, getting the...
Oh, RQT, really?
No! They got the catch out of Lazy Titan and didn't kill him. They did actually close it out just now, though, so even though they lose RQT, they're in an okay position, but again, eat you up, not really finding much on this not Tracer, notably. They are going to barely hold this one, but that was not the kind of hold Blank were after.
All right, well, I'll tell you what, timing was... Not that it realistically matters now, because RQT kind of gets himself back in there, but the run back distance from defender spawn to cap is slightly longer, a reasonable amount longer than from attacker spawn to cap. I don't think AHQ are going to be able to get there in time anyway, so this is going to now be the same situation as before. Get past the ice wall, then you'll get a push, but...
Yeah.
That's the ice wall.
There they go again. Isolating the tanks, but these tanks are able to keep themselves safe as that happens. Wait out the ice wall. The team does flood through.
Where's
and now
Dizzy?
AHQ are in position. Yeah, where is Dizzy indeed? Where's ATAR as well? Yeah, it's going to be Blank committing to the point now.
Okay. Yeah. It's only a Devo. Let's calm down. Whew.
Oh, man.
Okay.
We
I'm gonna stop
both
shaking.
really, yeah.
Stop shaking, please.
It's okay. I'll hold you. You're fine. You're safe with me.
All right.
Well, there's Dizzy. We found where he is, slippery as he is, indeed. No tag are near for him. ATAR does have his, so they have an opportunity to commit to this. Yeah, they haven't actually got any poke damage on AHQ. The shield comp is working, and that's a huge earth shatter! That is absolutely massive. I don't want to say it's over before it's over, but there is no one here for Blank. The self-destruct gets shielded out completely, and now as the last member falls, no one is anywhere near this point, even as the respawns come through. They're going to be having an absolute beeline towards it. And even when they get there, AHQ have all 6 members and still plenty of ults for it. The last few moments going to tick down.
Whole Hog should secure this as well. Pushing everybody away. Yeah,
don't even need that. What a heartbreaking way for it to end. All that poke damage and then one ultimate to secure it. And Blank hadn't touched AHQ leading up to that. They didn't have anything to go on if they wanted to commit to that fight themselves. And then AHQ totally shut the door on that. Even if there had been an opportunity, AHQ made sure it could not be followed up on. And that was just destruction.
If Trill is smasher of good odds, I don't know what that was, because that's a game winner right there.
And speaking of clubs, that there was the Graviton club sandwich, as it were, as the whole team piled on.
Club sandwich.
It was. I order the club sandwich all the time. I'm not even a member. I don't know how I get away with it.
I give you too much room. I don't know. It's my fault.
Well, guys, we now have a top team. We have a top team in this tournament, and it is AHQ in more convincing fashion than their last one. And now they are poised again to have another undefeated run through this next round robin, and that's only off one game.
They got to get past Flash Wolves first.
And, well, yeah, sure. But the other thing I was saying as well is now Blank having lost that, even if they win literally every other match, they cannot call themselves the best until they beat AHQ in the final round robin. That is a really tough situation for them to be in. They aren't just failing to stay or get back ahead of the 8 ball. They're starting to drop below the line.
And even if they do beat them in the 4th round robin, that's still only 2 for 2.
And they've still got to beat them in playoffs after that.
Exactly right. That's where it's really going to count. But
so there we go. Taking a look at those standings, you can see it reflected right there. What was previously 2 teams 12-2 is now 13-2 and a 12-13.
12-13, gosh.
Yeah, 12-13. That's a lot of losses in one game. No, 12-3, and closely followed by Flash Wolves. That is only the first game of this 3rd round robin, though. So the other scores.
What a way to open it up!
I know, right? The other scores haven't quite caught up yet, but you're dead right. What a way to open it up! I mean, it was already going to be an exciting match. At this point, no matter where in the round robin it is, these two teams meeting is an exciting match, but this has set the precedent. If the last round robin was defined by the matchy upsets at the very start of it, this has been the defining matchup of this round robin. And the question is, how do these two teams spiral out from here? Is this where Blank suddenly drop as every other team figures them out and AHQ skyrocket ahead? Or can Blank redeem themselves?
Well, I guess if you're going to have a second defining match, it's going to be... Actually, it's probably going to be AHQ versus Flash Wolves at this point, but another one is going to be, of course, Flash Wolves versus Blank. That's going to be the super important one, right? Because last time, that was also a 3-0. Probably not as one-sided as this one was today, But if Blank can come back against them, it shows us that they're not out of the picture just yet, that they can come back up against those top 3 teams. But if it's just another 3-0, then, well, sorry, Blank.
Yeah, and I suppose the other thing to contextualize this with is, regardless of the other results that these teams have against the other top 3 teams, so regardless as to how these 2 teams now play against Flash Wolves, there isn't necessarily anyone hot on the heels of this top 3. Maybe in this round robin, Matchy or Hong Kong Attitude start to break into it. It'll, you know, whoever is the weakest of these top 3 teams, if they drop a match to either Hong Kong Attitude or Matchy, that's when we can say that that's a potential thing. But if we assume right now that no one is, well, if these are the teams that are going to make playoffs, like I said before, it's hard to say if Blank are champion material right now.
I'm expecting all 3 of these teams to make playoffs. I don't think that's about given at this stage as we progress into the 3rd round robin, unless something drastically changes, like you said. But as opposed to saying, you know, are Blank still championship material right now, this week, today? No. In 2 weeks, in 5 weeks' time, when we actually get to the playoffs, the possibility for that to happen, I believe they could still do it, but is it going to be easy to run? When we came into the OPC week 1, we said, look, Blank looks so good. They just beat everybody clean, 7-0. Yeah, this is championship material right here. Now, even if they get to the grand finals, even if they get past the semi-finals, those are best of 7. Those are up to 3 best of 7s you got to play.
Oh yeah, it is a marathon effort.
I don't know if Blank, if they do, it'll be a ridiculous Herculean effort. I don't know how to describe it.
And let's not forget as well that comfort mat, Numbani. Remember, cast your mind all the way back to day 1 when Detonator picked Numbani up against Blank.
And we all laughed. We were like, oh, they don't know what they're in for.
They don't know what's coming. But now, even most recently as yesterday, Detonator gave Blank a run for their money on Numbani. AHQ demolished them. They buried Blank on Numbani. And this is not their map anymore. This is certainly not the case. So now when you're talking about playoffs going into best of 7s, Blank have not a great pool on Hybrid, and they don't have a great result on Assault at all. That's 2 types of maps that are not working out for them.
Where do they go? Where do they take anyone to, in fact? But in any case, gentlemen, let's just pack that one up, put it in a box, and we'll reopen that next time we see AHQ and Blank, mainly when they play Flash Wolves. For now, I kind of want to talk about this 3rd round robin as a whole, as we are just at the top of it. This has been a defining matchup of it. But the other thing I feel that is going to define this round robin, since we're talking about it with respect to playoffs, is this is where teams are going to lose their chance at playoffs if they're at the bottom of the table. Now, right now, there's Detonator and Sun Sister, and maybe it's already happened for them. But the other one that is hovering around that dangerous threshold at risk of dropping out of the tournament from the bottom end is Fireball. And not far ahead of them is Matchy and Hong Kong Attitude. As much as they are looking to push into top 3 themselves, they are at risk. One bad round robin has them not making playoffs at all, losing all opportunity to do it at the very end in the last one.
So we talk about how Fireball are running the risk of just having 0 possibilities of making it into playoffs if they start losing this round robin and it doesn't go too well. Matchy, though, do have some prospects that show that they can make it into the top 3.
Just real quick, I'm going to peek back into the box for a moment because, of course, player of the game for the last one is going to be Kerez after his phenomenal performance, specifically on Ana. That is the one that has been highlighted and pulled out there. And, I mean, even if we just talk about it comparatively, guys, was Gunba even in that match?
That might... I don't know. Well, that as harsh as that may sound, I think he was in Cowman's clutches a little bit more often. But I don't know. And speaking of Cowman, he was my MVP. I'm going to put it out there specifically for Numbani. For a decent amount of moments on all 3 maps, but specifically Numbani, I'm going to take it that entire offense for AHQ was rested on the shoulders of Cowman. Of this one guy completely opened up the map so huge. He impressed me the most. I don't know if that's worthy of an MVP, but in terms of who really stepped up, it's got to be him.
All right, well, let's now close that box lid once again, as we are going to go ahead and jump into an interview with the victors there, AHQ Esports.
And the MVP carries.
哇 ，Carry 的上一次比赛3-2是打败了 Blank Esports， 今天是直落3，心情怎么样？
其实今天
How do you feel after the 3-0?
比上次打的细节还要更好，所以 今天心情蛮爽的。
We're feeling much
刚刚
better
分
than
析还
last
也特
time
别
and
称赞你的
very
安
happy
娜
about the，
然后他们也说，
win
其实你的安娜是拥有韩国的血统，你自己怎么想？
People saying your Anna's as good as the Koreans.
我也会很多韩文。
哦，你也会很多韩文，
对
秀一下。
那个在节目上不好说。
不好说，
不好说
还有不好说，是不是？好，那如果说要你
He
自
says
己
he's
来排
actually
名，
learned
就
at
是
least
联赛
some
里面
decent
排
bit
名，
of
你的安娜
Korean
你觉得会
recently.
排名第几？
应该是第一吧。
你刚刚不是跟我说要谦虚吗？
The question
怎么
was
还是
where would
排
you
第
place
一
your Anna in the tournament right now? He says he's
啊
probably，
还
number
是
one.
对，好，第一，没有人可以打败你，是不是？有谁
我？们队的 AD。
And he says the only other player that really compares to him right now is Eddie Boss.
所以敌人就在自己队。
对。
哦，好，那我们其实也知道说你在练其他的输出的角色嘛，有没有办法透露给让大家知道呢？
What else have you been practicing?
可能不太方便说。
机密是吧？
It's probably
也是不好
not. It's
说。
probably not good for me to reveal that right now.
会让大家吓一跳。
吓一跳。
He wants to
最快
save it for a
什么时候会
surprise.
让大家吓一跳？
这可能要问我们教练。
教练。哎，不在了。
Why are
好
you saving it? I don't know.
那
Ask
今
my
天刚好
coach.
是否今天是不是透过镜头也跟妈妈说几句感谢的话？会不会害羞？
Would you like to say anything to your mum for
好
Mother's Day?
请
妈，我虽然我2个月没有回家了，不过我还是很想你。也谢谢你，就是有通过一些 line 什么的跟我说加油什么的，谢谢妈，我爱你。
哇，非
Thank you
常
so
的
much
温
for
馨，感
supporting
谢
me.
Harris 接受我
We
们的
haven't
访
seen
问。
each other in 2 months. I miss you
那也
dearly.
恭喜 HQ 赢得了这
And I
场
love
比
you.
赛。下一场比赛是由 Martin
That
对
was
上
paraphrased.
AVRL。在下场比赛开始之前呢，在采
Paraphrasing,
访
I
区
love
有
you.
我们的包子。
Well, there you have it. That is the man himself and his thoughts. And I think the confidence is fairly well placed. He touched on something there that I actually kind of want to jump in on really quick because we have mentioned it a few times, right? And he mentioned specifically coaches. And I kind of said right from the start, even as Blank were looking good, look, this tournament for them was never going to be players versus players. It was going to be coaches versus coaches, right? Because they are coming up against some very well-established organizations in Flashwolves and AHQ and Matchy. And this certainly isn't to discredit Blank's coaches. That's not what I'm saying at all. But right now in that matchup, it is the Taiwanese teams. It is these very established groups of support staff that are currently winning that.
It's also the facility, the home ground advantage. You got the crowd behind you. You're in familiar territory. You live and play in the country where is your home country. You're also in and I've seen videos of the place. I've seen the photos of the AHQ team house. These guys are in top of the line training facilities, and they have the backing of one of the most established League of Legends franchises of Taiwan.
Exactly. And by comparison, Blank, as it is, just have less staff total. They are strangers in a strange land, right? The homesickness is going to be kicking in, especially on a day like today where it's Mother's Day. You are going to be missing your mum. Like, if AHQ are missing their mums, you can bet your bottom dollar Blank are missing them twice as much, right? And some of their analysts are there. Some of their analysts aren't even there at all. They are watching these matches and then, like, Skyping into these guys, right? It has always been an uphill battle. What they had was a lead where they were ahead of the other teams. But like I said, now that these other teams have caught them, is it even possible for Blank to get back in front of the 8 ball?
So what I think Blank had as a big advantage was the surprise factor. It's not so much a surprise factor, but a mystery factor, right? It's like we don't scrim any of the teams in the OPC. We only scrim Koreans. We don't even scrim Australian teams, and that's fine because you want to scrim the best possible teams to get the best possible practice. And AHQ and Flashwolves pretty much do the exact same thing. Now for Blank though, prior to this tournament, they never showed their faces in. They very rarely showed their faces in a lot of the scenes. They would show up for a few tournaments, win them quite easily, and you had very little chance to scope them out, find out what they do, and really understand them. Now that we're 6 weeks into OPC, where Blank have played a lot of matches, you got a lot of, I guess, footage and evidence to sort of study them, if you will.
That's the thing about a 13-week league as well. You've got so many games to work off.
Time.
And remember, we were just talking about it. AHQ, Flashwolves, established organizations with a whole lot of analysts, coaches working together with those analysts, and it's really clearly working out for them because, yeah, they come in, they go undefeated in the first round robin, but teams have very, very clearly worked them out. And I've got to say, it comes down to draft, composition as a big factor in those victories for them. So in this big league, you're only as good as your latest performance.
Exactly, and that's the thing. From the moment Blank were picking up those first few wins, it would have been battle stations, everyone, for all of those analysts, not just on those other established Taiwanese teams, but all of them. And now that someone has figured it out, everyone is going to be looking now to the teams that have beaten Blank, and how do they do it, and how do we beat Blank too? The moment you're at the top, all eyes are on you, and now Blank are no longer at the top. So to kind of go back to our contextualizing of this round robin, the other thing that is coming up now is this question of, will Fireball bottom out and can Matchy continue their rise? And gentlemen, we are going to get some big answers to that question in the way of their upcoming match, which will be coming up just after this break. So don't go anywhere.